All right, we're about to get started. Okay, I'm getting there. I'm almost there. Let's go straight to the chat room. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. I think that button works and we should be good. Hi. Yeah, good to see you. Happy Friday. Also, I've got to get us up on Instagram as being finicky. Why would it be so finicky? Why are you being finicky, Instagram? Let's try one more time to send the signal. And then after I send the signal, then I click the little, we got to wait for it to catch up, because delays are what delays are. 3, 2, 1, there it goes. And now we're live on Instagram. There we go. Now I'm going out on all cylinders, except Kick, which is being weird again for no particular reason. I think both people that were watching the show there, I feel like I would hope they would be able to eventually migrate to someplace useful. Yes? Chat room, how you doing? What's going on? Hello. Happy Friday to you as well. Fuck Kick, yeah. Well, it's very silly. But I part of the reason why it's like the same reason I want to broadcast on Truth Sinkhole if it becomes available, because I want somebody on that platform to have to stumble across my my show and go, God damn it, who is this charming son of a bitch who single-handedly undermines all of my talking points? Dagnabbit. I want them to scream dagnabbit at their laptop while they're sitting in a Starbucks doing their best Ben Shapiro impersonation. Speaking of Ben Shapiro impersonations, or no, hold on. There are times, there was a period, I don't know, come in the Wayback Machine with me kids, when the downturn in right-wing media, which is, by the way, they're having a rough one right now, by and large, because Trump's in office and he's doing a bunch of shit, so they can't exactly blame everything that's going wrong on Democrats. They've been begging for this shutdown so that they could lay something at Democrats' feet, right? Well, in the interim, they're finding little ways that they can keep the faith alive, keep the maggots' attention span, keep them flooding in and supporting the shows or whatever. And then the bigger networks like the Daily Wire and the Caller and all this shit, like they have up in the Blase, they have a tremendous infrastructure that they have to keep up. They've got a lot of employees and that kind of stuff. And little upstarts like myself, we don't have that problem. Right? So we can just thunder on whether anybody likes what we're saying or not. I don't need what was the company? I mean, because I certainly didn't get any, so I wouldn't know. But who supposedly gave Dems like David Pakman money? Was it Chorus? Am I getting that right? Is it Chorus? Something like that. It's like the supposedly the blue version of Tenet, except it was American money from the DNC, which again is like, I mean, I don't think it's optimal. I don't think it's a good thing per se. But I also don't kind of care. It's very different than like Russian money being funneled in through a small company that pretends it exists in Tennessee, right? I like how they're blaming Dems when all the branches are controlled by Republicans. Exactly, Donald. That's the key here, and we'll get to that as well. It's Trump's shutdown and they're just having to deal with the fact that that a lot of folks aren't buying it, except for one guy. One little fella thinks that he can pull the wool over everyone's eyes repeatedly, and I gotta tell you, for being all fucking alpha male, and we'll get to Hegseth's showboating at some point. For being the party of like alpha males, I gotta say they are the biggest collection of fucking dweebs on the planet. If you guys are the butch fucking alpha male, men are men and women are women and sheep are terrified, then why does everybody that run that party, why are they either effete or weaklings or third generation rich kids who couldn't pull off a push-up, if they were promised yet another billion? Seriously, how does that happen? Because I got to tell you, every personality you see at the front of the Republican Party seems like somebody they would joke runs the Democratic coalition, right? I mean, if you listen to all the things they say about Democratic soy boys and all that kind of stuff over the years, and the fact that apparently we don't have any muscle tone or whatever. If you were trying to fabricate, well, exactly who are they talking about? Who is a perfect example? Who exudes that? Who has a dweeby voice, an oversized head, a teensy little body? All the things that they mock incessantly. And by the way, do I give a fuck that he talks like a middle school kid and, he's whatever height he is? I'm not even really sure. Ironically, he could be 6 feet tall for I know. It's just, he's diminutive in his presence, as it were. Do I give a shit about any of those immutable characteristics? No. Are they mockable for our purposes ever? No. Because I don't joke about things that people can't change, but I will tell you this. Although I think you can probably do some breathing exercises and deepen your fucking voice or something, if that's what you want to do. But I do find it ironic that this is what right-wingers always point out as some sort of characteristic of the left. It's every one of their leaders, Vance, Trump himself, Mike Johnson, fucking Ted Cruz, don't get me started. Like, they all are just the biggest bag of weenies outside of, Peter Thiel's nightstand. And it's odd. Maybe it's just, am I the only one that notices this? I thought they were supposed to be macho and fucking tough, and they all like UFC, and, they love to go to an event with a bunch of other dudes and watch a couple of dudes oiled up punching each other in the dick, man stuff. Whatever. I'm not saying that I'm just maybe if you were just yourself, maybe if it was maybe just be yourself and stop making your internal issues everyone else's problem, maybe is the best of it, because good Lord. Okay, so this is Speaker Johnson, and the title of this on Fox News is, "This is Simply Not True." Okay. Well, if anybody knows simple, it's somebody who works with Donald Trump regularly.
And here we go. Day 3 of the government shutdown. Republicans are blasting the Democrats' proposal, accusing them of trying to give illegal immigrants taxpayer-funded health care.
Right, which they legally can't do, and it would be illegal to do such a thing, but that's the only way they can cover their ass, so that's what they're saying. This is the idea that, that they don't want, I guess, regional hospitals in Bakersfield, that if a person comes in bleeding from a chest wound, that they want the right or the insistence that you check their status before you staunch the bleeding. That's what they mean by, giving illegals health care.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, he joins us now, and it is great.
Notice how there's 4 over here and 2 over there. It almost seems like they run all the branches of government, President, Vice President, House, and Senate. It's funny that somehow it's those guys' fault, though.
To have you.
What, mandate, right? The word was mandate? This is the mandate? That's another one. Kind of sits with you.
All right, the full screen here. $200 billion in health care benefits for illegals. in the Democratic CR. They said no. What do you say?
Well, welcome to day 3 of the...
Well, welcome to day 3. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of the witness in Heavy Metal. Hand over fist, calling hand over fist. Oh, I've never known him to do anything that was illegal, unless you count all the times he sold dope disguised as a nun, and he never did anything immoral, unless you count the preschooler's prostitute ring. Right? Remember that guy? Okay. That's Mike Johnson.
Democrat shutdown.
Don't worry about it, Dave. I've got an angle.
You've got the Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats have now voted 3 times to reject the clean, simple, continuing resolution that we passed out of the House 2 weeks ago to keep the government operating for the people. Real pain for real Americans, and they're claiming breath.
Real pain for real Americans. That's I mean, I don't know why that's not the Trump 2028 slogan. Like, why don't they just put that on the fucking hats?
Recklessly, Dana, that they're not trying to restore free taxpayer-funded benefits and health care to illegal aliens, and it's simply not true. I would direct everybody right now, go to speaker.gov, okay? That's
okay. Well, let's go. Let's go to speaker.gov. .gov. Democrats' dirty CR. Okay.
my official website. We put right there on the first page the evidence. I have the receipts, okay, as Bill said earlier. Chuck Schumer filed a counter proposal, a counter continuing resolution when they voted ours down. And what is in that? If you go there on the page, you'll see, go to page 57. It's bare.
Okay, here we go. This is what he's talking about. Page 57, section 2141, Democrats CR repeals the working families tax cut bills. That's the big BS bill. That's what they've rebranded the BBB as, by the way. They're calling it the Working Families Tax Cut Bill, which is, again, welcome to the new Patriot Act. New safeguards against waste, fraud, and abuse in healthcare. Okay, this is the Appropriations Senate Media Doc Democrat Continuing Resolution Text PDF. Open link in new tab. We'll take a look at that. And this is page. We'll go down to page 57. Hold on, let me scroll this down. Hold on. Go, you silly thing. 40, 50, there it is, 57. Okay, other health provisions. Repeal of the health subtitle changes. Subtitle B of Title VII of the act titled "An Act to Provide for Reconciliation Pursuant to Title II of Continuing Resolution 14, Public Law 11921, is repealed, and any law or regulation referred to in such subtitle shall be applied as if such subtitle and the amendments made by subtitle have not been enacted. Permanent extension of enhanced tax credit. They wanted, let's see, is amended by striking but does not exceed 400% in general subparagraph. Okay, that's for the child tax credit, I'm guessing. Okay, so this is the part they're saying it repeals. Is this the part he's talking about? Section 2141. Section 2141. This is the page 57. Section 2141. Oh, that's exactly it. Right, this part right here. That's it. And then this is the idea is that repeal any or all regulation referred to in such subtitle shall be applied as if such subtitle never existed. An act to provide for reconciliation pursuant to Title II. Okay. Let's grab that then. Let's see what that actually says, shall we? Subtitle B of Title VII of Public Law, also known as the One Big Beautiful Act, or the okay. What Public Law 11912 established? Okay, repeal the legislation. Okay, Subtitle B. The provisions of Subtitle B were short-lived. Repeal legislation. July 30th, 2025, a bill titled "Protecting Healthcare and Lowering Costs" was introduced to Congress. Repeal Subtitle B of Public Law 11921. Reverse the changes made by it. Impact with repeal any law or regulation that was altered by provisions. Okay, the legislative context that hasn't done yet. Establish Medicaid community engagement work requirements for certain adults. Okay, that's work requirement. That has nothing to do with illegals. Limited the use of state Medicaid provider tax and state-directed payments. My guess would be that if the state decided to expand Medicaid, the state would have the ability to do that. Reduce the amount of time for retroactive Medicaid coverage. Prohibited federal Medicaid payments to certain family planning organizations for 1 year. This would be, for Planned Parenthood. Like, delayed the implementation of new Medicaid and nursing home staffing rules. Because it'll cost money, because people need money. Increase the frequency of eligibility redeterminations for certain Medicaid recipients. So if you have to check back in if you're getting Medicaid more regularly. And I'm guessing this limited the use of state Medicaid provider taxes and state-directed payments. That would probably be the part they're talking about. Let's see, dive deeper in here. How does it... how does it limit the subtitle? Is also known as one who eliminates safe harbor. The law eliminates the 6% safe harbor threshold for all new provider taxes, making it more difficult for states to get approval for tax arrangements used to finance state Medicaid programs. Restricts existing tax in non-expansion states. States that have not adopted the ACA Medicaid expansion cannot implement new provider rules. Phases down taxes in expansion states for states that expand Medicaid the permissible rate of existing provider taxes. Prohibits differential to addresses loopholes. It also aims to close loopholes where taxes are structured to pass this has nothing to do with illegals either. State-directed payments. Payment limits. The law binding further federal statutory caps on all Medicaid expansion states for inpatient hospital, outpatient hospital, and nursing facility limited to 100% of Medicare rates. In non-expansion states, these payments limited. If Medicare rate is unavailable for service, the Medicaid state plan rate applies. Grandfathering period applies to all states. These changes are expected to reduce federal Medicaid spending and create significant administrative burdens and funding challenges for state Medicaid agencies. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is issuing guidance and will finalize policies through rulemaking and implementing provisions.
Read in their document, but it says...
We're going to read in their document.
In that section 2141, right there, Chuck Schumer filed it. It says they want to repeal the health provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut that we Republicans passed earlier this year.
Right, that would cut Medicaid funding for people and ACA subsidies and all those kind of things,
And
right?
President Trump signed it on July 4th.
Right, that was passed along party lines and Trump signed, right?
Now, why is that so important?
Because you're trying to kill the ACA and deny Medicaid?
Because, Dana, that's where you'll find they want to add back in almost $200 billion of taxpayer funds to give free stuff to illegal aliens.
All right, that again, what the fuck kind of graphic is this, Fox News? This would be, and this is where you're saying right here. The Democratic Continuing Resolution spends nearly $200 billion on healthcare subsidies for illegal aliens and other non-citizens. And this would be the ending Medicaid funding for non-citizens. Cost of repeal, $6.2 million. $6.2 billion. I see. So these are the sections that are in there, ending Medicaid funding for most non-citizens. That's, okay, for most, I don't know what category that is. So let's look at this then real quick, shall we? Should we check out the actual fucking bill? Notice, okay, where is it? Do they have the working families bill there? The one, the OBBBBBBBBBB. Hold on one second. Text of the one big beautiful bill, which they called it something else now. The working family tax credit. The 119. Okay, let's see. Committee the latest action. Let's see. Where's the text? Became law. Bill text and summary for the House version have been updated pursuant to H. Where's the full? I want the full text of it. You slimy slimies. Download the US. Okay, the text. Here's the PDF. Okay, so here's the PDF. All right, and then the sections I want to look at. Here we go, chat room. The sections we want to look at. He's talking about section 71-109. 71-109. There we go. This is the 71-109. Alien Medicaid eligibility is what 71-109 is. All right, let's look. Let's see what that does. Hold on. God damn this, because it's huge. which section is this? No. There you go. Let's see. I probably should have opened the text version so I could search this part of it out. Let's see. Open and preview. Search section 711109. That would be version of this section, and 7102, 7110. What page is this? We'll get there. Okay, B Health Chapter 1 Medicaid is on page 139. Okay, something like that. We'll get down here. I'm doing the work for you guys. I don't mind. Let's do this. 139, there we go. This is 139. 3 is 290. Back up. 139, 328. 139. 290. This is very low. So it's 302. Okay, we're getting there. 292. In this part is okay, blah, blah. Okay, reducing a duplicate enrollment under the Medicaid and CHIP programs. Okay, that's okay. Moratorium on the implementation of rule relating to eligibility. Okay, moratorium on the eligibility enrollment in Medicare savings programs. Okay. Section 71103. We'll get to 71109. It's 106. Let's look at the text, shall we, of the actual bill that they say protects people from, illegal aliens. Stealing is 71108. 71109. There you go. Alien Medicaid eligibility. There we go. We found it. Look at that. Medicaid, the Social Security Act is amended in paragraph 1 by striking and inserting and by adding the end of the following new paragraph. Notwithstanding the preceding paragraphs of this subsection beginning on October 1st, 2026, except as provided in paragraphs 2 and 4, in no event shall payment be made to a state under this section for medical assistance furnished to an individual unless such an individual is, quote, a resident of one of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, or a territory of the United States, and either a citizen or national of the United States, an alien lawfully admitted for permanent residence as an immigrant, as defined by sections of the Immigration Nationalization Act, among others, alien visitors, excluding, among others, alien visitors, tourist diplomats, and students who enter the United States temporarily with no intention of abandoning their residence in a foreign country. An alien who has been granted the status of Cuban and Haitian entrant as defined in Section 501 of the Refugee Education Assistance Act of 1980. An individual who lawfully resides in the United States in accordance with the Compact of Free Association according to the Assistance of Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Reconciliation of 1996. CHIP. Of the Social Security Act as amended in this section, it is further amended that by redesigning this paragraph relating to payments and medical assistance furnished to aliens, except in relation to payments for services provided under Section 120, implementation funding. For the purposes of carrying out the provisions of and amendments made by this section, there are appropriated of the monies in the Treasury, otherwise appropriated to the Administrator of the Centers for Medicare Services, $15 million for fiscal year 2026 to remain available until expended. Expansion FMAP for emergency Medicaid and FMAP for treatment of emergency medical condition, notwithstanding this is going to be beginning on October 1st, 2026. The federal medical assistance percentage for payments for care and services described in paragraph 2 of this shall exceed the federally implemented funding for the purposes of carrying out the provisions of this. Okay, so they're punting everything to 2026. The prevention of wasteful spending, that would be the other thing. Moratorium on implementation of a rule relating to staffing standards or long-term care facilities under the Medicare and Medicaid program. The Secretary of Health and Human Services shall not, during the period beginning of the date of the enactment of the section of the amendment, implement or administer or enforce the amendments made by the provisions of the final rules published in the Medicare and Medicaid programs minimum staffing standards for the long-term care facilities and Medicaid institutional payment transparency reporting. So they want no minimum staff there. They're repealing that aspect of it. Reducing state Medicaid costs so that they can have smaller, and this would be probably more than likely religious oriented facilities that have smaller staffs, or, it's the homeschooling version of a hospice thing that can still get government assistance. Yeah, the repeal of this, none of this points to, quote, people who are here illegally. It's just that they want to narrow the standard by which, and I don't know where, let's see, where does the $200 billion come from? This would be the standard, $192 billion, ending enhanced FMAP for emergency care to illegal immigrants. That's $28 billion, alleged, ending enhanced FMAP for emergency care. Closing the California loophole, that would be 71-117. Let's take a look at that one. Where are you silly thing? 71-117 will be further down here. The California loophole. 71-120. Okay. Backing up. What's obvious is that there is a tremendous amount of lip service in this shit. 71, was it 71-17? Damn it, I already zip past here. Derp. 117. Thank you. Beg your pardon. Isn't this fun? Real legislation. Okay. Requirements regarding waiver of uniform tax requirements for Medicaid provider tax. Starting after clause, for the purpose of the clause, a tax is not considered to be generally redistributed to the following conditions apply. Within a permissible class, the tax rate imposed on any taxpayer or tax rate group, explicitly defined by its relatively lower volume or percentage of Medicaid taxable units, is lower than the tax rate imposed on any other taxpayer or tax rate group, explicitly defined by its relatively higher volume of percentage of Medicaid taxable units. Within a permissible class, the tax rate imposed on any taxpayer or tax rate group, as so defined, based upon its Medicaid taxable units, as so defined, is higher than the tax rate imposed on any taxpayer or tax rated group, based upon its non-Medicaid taxable unit. The tax excludes or imposes a lower tax rate on a taxpayer or tax rate group as defined based on or defined by a description that results in the same effect as described in subclause 1 or 2 for taxpayer. This is obviously but part of the goal of why Republicans are like, nobody ever reads this stuff. It's like, because most of this is boilerplate that references other law. The tax excludes or imposes a lower tax rate on a taxpayer or tax group as so defined based on or defined by a description that results in the same effect based on payments of expenditures made under the program under the title without mentioning the term Medicaid. The term Medicaid taxable unit means a unit that is being taxed within a healthcare related tax that is applicable to the program under this title. Such term includes a unit that is used as basis for payments under the program under the title. Again, non-Medicaid revenue, costs unassociated with the like. This has nothing to do with illegal immigration at all. For real. Unless, chat room, anybody like a specialist on how deferred Medicaid taxation in California somehow leads to benefit illegals in this situation? Good Lord. Hold on one second. I'm going to grab, let's see, section 1. It was section 7119, right? Yeah. All right, well, I'll just do it this way. I'm going to use a backup in here. Hold on one second. Let's see. How does section 7119 of the big, beautiful bill close the California loophole definition and pay for illegal immigrant health care. And then should we break this down? Hopefully we can figure out some root of this as we chase it down, but we'll hear from back to Dum Dum here.
100% in writing, not a Republican talking point. It's Chuck Schumer's own document.
Yeah, that's not what it shows at all.
Wow. Okay, so you've got that.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, they got a graphic. It says 200 billion. They put it on the screen. Must be true.
And you've got a few moderate Democrats in the Senate who may crack. We'll see when this vote goes down, and they may stay strong. Jean Shaheen is one of them, and she came on Fox yesterday and was talking about, well, there are a lot of people in district.
By the way, the California loophole. Here's what the California loophole. California taxes Medicaid insurance plans $187 per enrollee per month, while only taxing private insurance plans $2 per enrollee per month. The state then pays the Medicaid insurers back with these tax revenues, plus federal matching funds, leaving California with a surplus. That's what they call the loophole.
Where President Trump won, who could be in peril if these health care subsidies lapse. Here's what you said. Here's her argument right now.
Health insurance companies right now this month are setting those rates. So we need to get together. We need to address this. This is an issue that affects both Democrats and Republicans. You know, over 70% of people who are getting.
Hold on. I have to check something else. 711. Sorry. There we go. Ending Medicare for most non-citizens. Okay, we'll come back to this.
Those health insurance subsidies are in states that President Trump won. 56% of them are in Republican districts.
That would seem to be pretty overwhelming, and I'm sure you're aware of this, and I imagine a lot of those folks live in Louisiana. What would you say to that?
Yeah, Bill, we're all aware of this. It's a total red herring. The Democrats have grasped onto a December policy issue. What she's referring to there.
Okay, so I think I got what they're selling this portion as is that the CMS moves to shut down Medicaid loophole. This is the tax that California does on Medicaid. That allows it to maintain it is that California used, let's see, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, issued a proposal that would close a Medicaid tax loophole exploited by states to inflate federal payments to states and free up state funds for non-Medicaid purposes. Some states have exploited these tax loopholes to take money from federal taxpayers and then simultaneously spent state money on new benefits for illegal immigrants. So they're not taking the money from the taxpayers. It's that because they're able to do this, they're able to take care of using state funds undocumented immigrants. So what they want to do is choke Medicaid in the state, so California is forced to take the money that they would take care of undocumented immigrants with and make them use that money to take care of citizens that are on Medicaid under the, by eliminating that tax point. Or make them raise their taxes, I guess, to patch that hole is the idea. Some states have exploited these taxes to spend money, and they call it the California loophole, but other states do it. But they like calling it the California loophole because it makes it sound like it's a blue state, liberal, hippie thing. This regulatory move is projected to save taxpayers more than $30 billion over 5 years, which I think we can all agree in a $1.5 trillion or $1.7 trillion yearly budget and a $20 trillion 10-year budget is chicken feed. Continued CMS work in ensuring this vital safety net includes to be available to the country. States are gaming the system, creating complete tax schemes that shift their responsibility to invest in Medicaid and rob federal taxpayers. This is Mehmet Oz. This proposed rule stops the shell game and ensures federal Medicaid dollars go where they're needed most to pay for the health care for vulnerable Americans who rely on this program, not to plug state budget holes or bankroll benefits of non-citizens. It doesn't. That money still goes. But they're saying they don't want the state to be able to come up with other money to do this with, other revenue. And by the way, most of these states are in debt anyway, so the idea that this $20 came in an envelope and went out in another envelope, and that's what you're tracking. This is how they do it across to eliminate a lot of social safety net programs. Why are taxpayer dollars taken from gun owners going to supply books for inner city school kids that Black Lives Matter are setting fire to, right? That's that 1-to-1 where like whatever this dollar comes in and how dare you take my dollar? You're taking the NRA's members' money, their tax dollars, and using it to abort babies. And then who are they going to have to shoot when they get all grown up? Right, here's how it works. Under state law, states can tax stakeholders and use that as part of their state share for Medicaid as long as those taxes are uniform and broad-based. Or they can pass certain regulatory tests. The taxes are not permitted when they are not generally redistributive. And these loophole taxes are solely designed to game the higher federal match by taxing a type of entity, drawing down a high federal match, ranging from 77% for traditional Medicaid populations, and then redistributing those federal dollars back to the very same entities that were taxed. And that's what most Americans call money laundering. That's what they've been arguing for a long time. Specifically, by the way, California dumps more money into the federal taxpayer system than these other red states. So they're getting their own money back through this arrangement. By the way, they're laundering their own money because it is being taken from blue states to pay for red states. None of these are interested in cutting the absolute, teat sucking of the red states. These arrangements allow states to benefit from budget surplus to reinvest in unrelated programs, including an $8.5 billion program, California, to cover 1.6 million illegal immigrants and other non-citizens. So, by the way, this group is not 1.6 million illegal immigrants and other non-citizens. It's 1.6 million other non-citizens that they believe includes illegal immigrants. And by the way, insofar as proof, it's trust me, bro. Medicare yes, Medicaid is shared expense, which is why red states are always relying on everybody else to pay for them. Okay, where were we? Back to Schnurgly. Where is he? Where did they go? Oh, there he is. Okay, got it. So
Doesn't expire until
hold on, this one here. 2026.
December 31st. We have 3 months in Congress to work through that issue. It has nothing to do with the September stopgap funding measure that will merely keep the government open for the people so that Republicans and Democrats can work here through the regular process to finish appropriations. They are trying to grab a red herring to distract everyone from the simple fact that they want to put illegal aliens back on the taxpayer-funded.
Which is, again, you can't say that this is all about a red herring when clearly, if you're saying they want $200 billion for illegal immigrants and that $200 billion isn't even a majority towards that, the worst you could say is that it allows states, because of federal funding, to prioritize with their own internal tax dollars taking care of undocumented immigrants that might be working in the state under the table or what have you, or just to make sure that they don't spread an infectious disease by allowing people to come in and get treatment without having to show that they're whether they're citizens or not, because safety first and, the Hippocratic Oath. But, fuck that. That's far too Christian for this dipshit. Meanwhile, they will not address at all how the red states are barnacling off of states like California, New York, Washington State.
Benefits wagon. And they want to, by the way, there are other demands in this counterproposal. They want us to give $500 million of American taxpayer funds back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to prop up left-leaning media organizations. They want to add
yes, Sesame Street.
$1.5 trillion.
NPR. Yes, just the worst, most horrifying bastions of anti-Trump sentiment in the world because they dare report the news in a droll, bland pattern as opposed to, incendiary Jesse Waters racist bullshit.
With a T. $1 trillion of new spending that we cannot afford right now. The American people cannot afford, and they want to do that.
So there's no new spending in the one big bullshit bill? So the deficit has gone down during the last 8 months or 9 months of the Trump administration? Has it? Is it projected to go down over the next year or 2 or 3 or to the end of his term? Or did you guys punt the fucking debt ceiling? By the way, one of the reasons they have a problem with this is that they punted the debt ceiling $5 trillion, and this would eat into Trump's planned expenditures that will benefit his buddies, in the spring. They're basically like rolling out all this shit
on a 7-week stopgap funding measure. It's absurd. Let me tell you something. Every Democrat in the Senate that voted against this has voted for the same, almost identical thing 13 times.
Yeah, before the big bullshit bill that cut Medicare and Medicaid funding for poor people. That's why you guys had to put this fucking bullshit patch in to save hospitals in rural area, because they're going to be shut down. Well, the funding doesn't even kick in until next year, and they're being shut down right fucking now. And why do Democrats give more of a shit about this than Republicans do?
13 times during the Biden administration over 4.
Right. Because the cuts that were in the big bullshit bill weren't law.
4 years. But now suddenly they can't do it. There's one reason and one reason alone that this fight is being waged right now. They're trying to prove themselves to the Marxist left base of the Democrat Party. Plain and simple. Chuck Schumer made this decision because he's afraid that AOC or one of the Marxists are going to challenge him in his next Senate re-election bid, and that's why he's doing this selfishly. And
well, it's weird. It almost seems like considering the punt on the debt ceiling and the like, that you could put back some of the minor Medicaid cuts and add that to a CR, and you'd be able to sign it and work on the other shit that you're talking about. Or you could just damage the economy because Trump's in a pissing contest with anybody who doesn't do exactly what he wants, exactly when he wants it, on his terms.
And very dangerously for the American people.
Let's listen
Mm-hmm.
to AOC. This is what she said on her Instagram account.
This is what Republicans love to do. Whenever we fight to elevate the minimum wage, to expand Social Security, to make healthcare better in this country, in order to derail that, Republicans love to dangle this shiny object that says, but what if someone not like you gets it?
Okay, you work with Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, it sounds all fucking awfully. It sounds awfully Christian.
And you work with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Who do you think is a better communicator?
Damn. Tell a blonde lady.
Well, she's way better on social media, and she gets all the attention. But remember what she
Uh-oh, somebody's jelly.
stands for, okay? She is the most vocal opponent for Mamdani, who's about to be elected.
She's the most vocal what?
Stands for, okay? She is the most vocal opponent for Mamdani, who's a...
Oh, I had no idea AOC was against Mamdani. The most vocal opponent? Huh.
about to be elected, apparently mayor of America's largest city and the once cradle of capitalism. These people are
the once cradle of capitalism.
Marxists. They want the government to take over and run everything. And what that means for you, listen, average American citizens.
Yeah, pay attention. Look, don't let his dweeby Rick Moranis character actor looks fool you. This is this is tough love.
You surrender your freedom for the government to take over. It never works. It's.
You do realize that, like, Medicaid funding isn't the government taking over. You do realize even a public option isn't the government taking over any more than public schools are the government taking over. You fucking weasel. I posted on my my Blue Sky. It occurred to me in listening to these assholes that the people like these folks always think like that the government is the cause of every problem. We need to shrink government down because it's if anything stops innovation and stops people from living their best lives and experiencing the most freedom, it's government, it's regulations. And so I pointed out, and I think aptly, that people who believe the government is the cure for everything and people who believe that the government is the cause of every problem believe the same thing. I mean, this, and you'll notice that Trump thinks that Republicans especially, but Trump in particular, thinks the government doesn't create jobs, never has, never will, until they're in charge. Then anything that happens good is because of them, and they can high five any job that's created. Anybody strikes oil anywhere or invents something, it's because because the land and the king are one, and there's our ruler has God's providence shining down on him. But if anything bad happens, it's because 4 years ago a decision was made that they didn't like. You know, everything. This is Biden's economy until it gets good, and then it's Trump's economy for a weekend, and then it goes, oh fuck, we're back to Biden's economy.
Destructive, and it is anti-American, and they are advancing something that their parents' generation of Democrats would have soundly rejected. This is not your father's Democratic Party. These people are dangerous to our system, and everybody needs to wake up and understand that. I don't
I'm very afraid.
care what they put on social media. You need to look at the philosophy
Yeah, you kind of do.
behind that. And we're fighting to preserve freedom of the greatest nation in the history of the world that we celebrate 250 years next year. We've got to defend it. That
Well, I mean, if it's still here, obviously.
freedom is not inherited in the bloodstream.
Yeah, we had a big vote here in New York in 4.5 weeks. That's coming up very
Right.
quickly. Can I ask you, of these 7 moderate Democrats that are described to us, have you heard from any of them? Is there a crack within that group?
Well, we hope so. I talked to Leader Thune late last night. They're working on that. They're hopeful that some of them will come to their senses. They don't want to be blamed for the destruction that is being wrought. There are real people being hurt right now. We have women, infants, and children nutrition programs that are...
Yes, programs that were started and maintained by Democrats that Republicans want to get rid of permanently. Maybe these, who knows, maybe the government is poisoning them, Mike. Come on, Grinder Mike. Tell everybody, right? Warn these people. They shouldn't show up and get their government handouts. They're probably poisoned. They're probably being sterilized by the Illuminati.
now not funded. You have
Sorry. There you go. Sorry.
veterans
That hurt.
health services that are not funded. FEMA, many of their services are stalled right now in the middle of a hurricane
Trump wants to get rid of FEMA, you dumb motherfucker.
season. You got troops.
No, you don't get to decry that FEMA's not going to be properly operating when the guy that you support, and you will do everything he says. If this asshole was told, bring a bill to the floor to eliminate FEMA tomorrow, he would fucking do it. Now, I don't think he has the votes to do it because there are so many broke-ass red states that have tornado alleys that they don't dare get rid of it. But fuck off with this word, like, save your fucking crocodile tears about FEMA, asshole. And what are you going to do next? They're going to shut down public schools, public universities.
And TSA agents and Border Patrol agents serving us right now, defending the country without pay.
Well,
It's
you make an
ridiculous.
interesting argument with that. Does this vote, does it actually pass today and shock the world?
Well, I certainly hope so. I'm praying that this ends quickly because this is
No, I get it,
wrong
but is
to
that
do
a
to the
yes
American
or a
people.
no for today's vote?
Well, I don't know. I'm not in the Senate, but I'm trying to read the tea
Yeah, but sorry, Hammer, you picked the wrong guest.
leaves as everybody else. I think there are
Sorry, Hans, wrong guest.
cracks, and I think more Democrats will come along, and I hope they do it sooner than later.
Zooming out, just one last question from me. Kim Strassel this morning in the Wall Street Journal, she talks about Republicans, health care, the policy, and the messaging. Do you agree with her that the Republicans are weak, vulnerable on health care policy at this moment when a lot of Americans are saying they are worried about the high prices, but there's just very little discussion about why the prices are so high?
Exactly. We're all concerned about that.
What? I don't know why we're concerned. 2 weeks. Can you hang on for 2 fucking weeks? Trump's new plan is going to be here in 2 weeks. It's the biggest thing. And drug prices are going to go down 1,000%.
If they look at the facts, Republicans are the ones that are solving the problem. In the big, beautiful bill, when we put the reforms in for Medicaid, what we've done is brought down the premiums, and we have eliminated the fraud, waste, and abuse. The CBO
No, you haven't. You have not eliminated fraud, waste, and abuse. Get the fuck out of here. You've simply changed the goalposts if anybody's engaging in waste, fraud, or abuse. You haven't eliminated it. You're planning to. You want to, as every administration does, and as the Medicare and Medicaid overseers, they're the IGs around them and the boards that are financially responsible within them in the organization always try to fucking do. You didn't eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse any more than Trump got rid of crime in D.C.
The analysts that just put that out, August 25th, go look it up, and they said the CBO is not a Republican group. They're the neutral arbiters here. And
Yeah, now they're neutral. If you like what they say, they're neutral. If you don't like what they say, they're clearly left-leaning.
they say the Republicans are right, because what we did was save $185 billion of waste and abuse in the program with our reforms. And we're going to get 2.3 ineligible recipients off of that. That's those illegal aliens. That's the young, able-bodied men.
But what about
who were
people
The young, able-bodied men, you lazy American fucks.
who are people who are not on Medicaid, people who are either on the Obama exchanges or are worried they're going to lose their employee-sponsored health insurance?
Yes, we have a lot of reforms that we need to push through, but
Need? Bill's got a look on his face like, you've got a lot of reforms you need to push through. Well, why weren't they in the big bullshit bill? And what do you mean need to push through? What are you pushing through?
the answer is not to grow government and further subsidize insurance companies, which is exactly what those subsidies do. It doesn't.
You're right. Let's do a public option. That'll be the easiest way to solve this right away. And then the private companies would be competing with a public company, just the way private schools and private security, that they have to compete. You know, there's cops, there's public schools. You know, it kind of evens it out. Make sure everybody has access to something.
Help bring premiums down. We got to do it for the people, not for
the
insurance companies. That's a pretty important distinction.
Sir, thank you for your time. Appreciate
it. Which is, by the way, shut the fuck up. The profit aspect of this is not that, you know, they're being paid off to take people on. It's because the actuarial tables are such that it is unprofitable to take on sick people or older people. And there has to be a reason to do it. Otherwise, they'll fucking go under. And then nobody will have health care. And again, if you want to talk about the public option, one of the big fears isn't that the public option wouldn't be popular. It's that everybody that's on a private program that's anywhere close to being kicked off or is reaching some sort of limit that they might have, they'll immediately go to the public option and overweight it in that direction and effectively create a secondary form of Medicaid, and the price would have to go up a little bit. But the balancing act on everybody else's cost of healthcare would even out because of it. I'm just, I know. Hal and his stupid public option idea and his multi-state public option idea. I know.
Coming on, I don't know, what are you getting, like 3 hours of sleep a night?
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Well, just listen to the Taylor Swift album. You'll be fine. Just stay up all night.
Right, sure.
Thank you, sir, for your time.
She's not kidding.
Speaker Johnson, appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
It's Grinder Mike to the Who's at Home. Yeah, there you go. It pops right up. Good Lord. By the way, I have a tight out tonight. Look out. That sounded a little something. You have a what? Because my girlfriend's son got engaged, and we are having a celebratory dinner tonight. We're gonna go to dinner, and so I've got to go put on a shirt and tie at some point. I may even have to jump at this early. I might have to get dressed right in front of you guys. I'm not afraid. I'll do it. Get used to the idea. It's fancy pants. A tight out. That's right. A tight out for a night out. Look out. Okay. Hey, remember this guy? Remember this guy who used to be like Trump's personal gadfly, who was just like running interference for everything that he does, and Trump's the man, and finally leadership. This guy used to be Ted Cruz's chief of staff, and now he's running for, I think, Attorney General of Texas. And because he knows he's probably going to lose his seat, because this redistricting, as much as they've been trying to balance it so that it benefits Republicans, there's no fucking way Austin and the area that he represents doesn't go Democratic unless they manipulate the whole thing, and it fucks up his base, the Freedom Caucasians that kept him in that spot. So we shall see what we shall see. But he goes, this is titled, "We Took Our Eye Off the Ball." Chip Roy explains what poses imminent threat to Americans. I'm going to guess it's fishing boats full of cocaine.
The Trump administration is taking the war on cartels to a whole new level.
No, he isn't. No. Citation needed. Shooting boats out of the water when you have no evidence who the people are that are in them, what they're carrying. You don't have any. I mean, you might as well be like Roswell holding up tinfoil. That would be more believable than this. sinking a fucking boat that people are speeding along. I don't give a shit. Even if refugees were trying to get the fuck out of Venezuela, they could get blown out of the water. So no, they're not taking it to a new level, except that he has announced that he has the right to be technically in armed conflict because they are enemy combatants. This is Trump sent a letter to the Congress basically declaring war on specifically South American, but drug cartels.
Trump.
Also, by the way, I don't know why this wouldn't automatically lead to you being able to bomb places inside China.
Declaring drug cartels to be unlawful combatants and says the U.S. is now engaged in formal armed conflict.
Yeah, the peace president. Who'd have thought he'd come in there and declare the place the Department of War and then launch declare a war on a whole new group of ISIS people.
With the cartels. This after recent strikes on what the administration says were drug smuggling vessels in the Caribbean.
Yes, what the administration says were, as in they don't exist anymore because they were blown out of the water.
In a memo to Congress obtained by Fox, the administration writes, the United States has now reached a critical point where we must use force in self-defense and defense of others against the ongoing attacks by these designated terrorist organizations.
By the way, who designated them terrorist organizations? Again, they act like it was an external thing. These are terrorist organizations. Like fucking Homan says this. Kristi Noem says this. Fucking they're all reiterating this talking point as if some sort of international body or the UN declared drug cartels terrorist groups, and we're just following what their lead. Trump declared them that. You have to add that part. Like, Congress didn't pass a law declaring war on drug cartels because they are, I don't know, like a foreign national system, that an extra state, like the caliphate, that the cartel areas are effectively the same legally as the ISIS caliphate. They are not part of Iraq and Syria and those areas. They are effectively their own nation state overlaid on other nation states, and therefore we can declare war on them as if they have, uniformed soldiers. Congress didn't do that. Trump did that unilaterally. And every time they repeat this on these fucking news programs, it drives me apeshit. This declared, what was the phrase exactly? Designated terrorist organizations. Designated by Trump in an executive order. That doesn't automatically make them terrorists. And the idea also that they're terrorists is, most of the time, any quote-unquote terrorism-like behavior these guys engage in is usually against other gangs for turf. Our turf. Our little piece of turf. Right.
Self-defense and defense of others against the ongoing attacks by these designated terrorist organizations.
Also, ongoing attacks. What they mean is selling narcotics into the country. That's a designated attack.
The U.S. has already carried out 3 deadly strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats, including 2 vessels
alleged
originating from Venezuela over the past month. Joining me here in Dallas is Texas Congressman.
By the way, allegedly coming from Venezuela. Stop it. I see a boat in the fucking water. I'm not taking for granted where it is in the world at this point. How do we even know this footage is from the waters around Venezuela at all?
And Texas Attorney General candidate Chip Roy. Congressman.
I'm dead inside. It's nice to be here. I'm on my Goodbye Soul tour.
Thanks for being with us here today.
Well, good to be on.
What does it mean? What does it mean to take armed conflict to the cartels?
Well, in 2019, when I was a first-year member of Congress, I introduced legislation to designate cartels as terrorist organizations. I was the first to do that, worked hard for 5 years to get it there, and God bless President Trump for being willing to do it right out of the gate in an executive order. And now, in his memo to Congress, making clear that they're serious about it, and we've seen it now in numerous engagements.
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Sorry. You don't get to, because you're seeing a ship blow up in the water someplace. None of us have any responsibility to jump to the details about said explosion are true. That's just fucking dumb. And this idea that, like, especially the Freedom Caucasians and all these, like, we need to have guns against a tyrannical government, are telling everybody, buy the extrajudicial bombing of these fucking boats, hook, line, and sinker, is horseshit. No.
With these boats that are full of narcotics that are coming to this country. And as you know all too well.
No, they're not. No, they're not. You have no evidence they're coming to this country. You have no evidence where they fucking are.
A Texan killing our loved ones, killing people that we know, dangerous fentanyl. But by the way, it's not just fentanyl, which has become pretty notorious in the last several years.
It's by and large not fentanyl at all.
But actually cocaine is now almost doubled in terms of production. It is now at a level that we haven't seen since the 80s. In fact, it's far more than that.
And yet, okay, so run this by me again. Explain to me, dipshit. Someone clear this up. In chat room, maybe you guys can help me work this out, because I got to tell you, it's a little infuriating. So explain to me how the border, the Biden unsecure border, the open borders, allowed a flood of drugs into the country. And now Donald Trump comes in, shuts the border down. The border is closed. And yet, the cost and availability of fentanyl is unmoved. It is equally as available as it was before 0 people came across the fucking border. And cocaine is up. It is more available. More of it is getting in the country. So you shut down, maybe, I mean, check me on this, maybe it was never a border issue. Maybe that, you know, you can talk all you want about illegal immigrants and people working under the table and undocumented people and the depression of wages because people sneak across and do fucking roofing and work on farms and shit like that. But maybe, just maybe, the vast majority of the drugs in this country come in through the ports and have people within those systems helping to get those drugs out of giant shipping containers or snuck in on boats around fucking Florida like they have been since fucking Miami Vice.
You know why? Because we took our eye off the ball. We were looking at the war on terror on the other side of the globe. We were leaving our border wide open, particularly in the last 5 years. And now in the Western Hemisphere, that stuff is running amok.
No, asshole. If shutting the border didn't lower the amount of drugs that are in the country, it had nothing to do with the border in the first place.
The president now knows that. They're now seeing the result of the Biden administration all these years. So
no, they're not. What do you think? They were storing it up for a rainy fucking day? You think they've been sitting on a big pile of coke since last year? What do you think? Supplies are getting low?
They're taking, to answer your question, the war to the terrorists using enhanced tools. And we can use stuff.
Enhanced tools? What? Satellite imagery and blowing up a fucking boat with a... Again, these are fucking speedboats and fishing boats. Stop acting like it requires fucking Reaper drones.
Up here on this side, and you know, from a legal background, we now have greater prosecutorial tools. We can now go after, with material support for terrorists, the financial networks, but then also
the financial networks. You mean like Deutsche Bank?
So when you're prosecuting them, you can actually get higher sentences. But in terms of engagement overseas, he's right to take it directly to them.
What do you anticipate that means? You described very well for us the need, the problem, and some of the tools that we do have at our disposal. But this news today and this memo to Congress seems to indicate that there is something new, that this is a next.
Yeah. It's new. The peace president is reporting for duty. And I have to say, I do mean duty.
Step forward against the cartels, another step in this war. And I have to wonder, does that mean troops in Mexico? Does that mean special forces attacking the cartels? Does that mean drones over Mexican air? What does it mean?
Well, yeah, if you're not a pussy, right, Chip?
Well, certainly I think what it means is targeting the cartels with whatever it takes to stop them from killing Americans. Now,
okay, so troops on the ground, bunker busters, I guess, on their facilities in the jungles of South America, right? Why wouldn't you send drone swarms in as targeting, knocking out any kind of like lookouts they have around the area, and then hit them with a bunker buster, right? This is a war. If you're blowing a fucking boat up out of the water, sight unfucking seen, why not? could it possibly be that you're full of shit?
Obviously, the president in his engagement with Congress has to work with us in terms of the use of...
Does he? Really? He has to work with you? What are you going to do? Stop him?
the authorization of the use of military force. He has a great deal of power as commander-in-chief, should have that power to go stop any imminent threat to America.
Any imminent threat that he decides on, that he decides is an imminent threat.
Citizens. And a lot of this activity actually poses an imminent threat to American citizens.
A lot of it? How much? What do you think? 40, 60, 40, 70, 30, 50, 50?
So yes, however they're going to use the technology, drones and other things. But importantly...
Yes, however they're going to use them. I think they're going to use them to kill people extrajudicially without any proof that they are members of drug cartels or that they're not just, like, again, refugees trying to get out of an area, because the roads are closed.
It's a message.
No, it isn't. It's a murder.
Discount the importance of the message to the leaders in South America, the message to the leaders in Mexico, the Northern Triangle, the message to the cartels themselves that this president is serious, taking out those boats. Like, it's not just about those boats.
It kind of is.
It's sending a message to them that if we're going to have their business model built on something that is killing Americans, Donald J. Trump is not going to take that lightly, and he is right to take it on, and God bless him for it. He's doing a masterful job in sending that message to the world.
It will be fast.
How? If you're doing a masterful job, one would think that you would capture these guys, I suppose, and take all their drugs off the boat, show them, destroy them, right? Cut the bags open, dump them into the sea, I suppose, and then put the guys back in the boat and go, hey guys, go back to fucking Venezuela or we're going to shoot you out of the water. And then if they come back or they try anything else, then you do what they did there. Other than that, you're just blowing up fishing boats as far as the world is concerned, and you're a fucking nutcase. And the other thing is again, these are like these boats. I think one of them was going to Trinidad, they said, or Haiti, shit like that. They're not coming to the United States on fucking speedboats from Venezuela.
Interesting to see how that message is received, not just by the cartels, but as you point out, by, for example, the leader of Mexico. All right, Congressman, I hope you stay.
Claudia Scheinbaum.
Right here, because we need to talk about the government shutdown and the battle on Capitol Hill. All right, as Democrats waste your time keeping the government closed, President...
Yes, wasting your time keeping the government closed. By the way, and you're going to get up and walk around while your guest is over there? Is that how boring the news is on Fox News? That you got to get up and, hey, follow me over here for a second. I'm going to see. Well, let's go to the map, shall we?
Trump is wasting no time cutting the red tape. President Trump posting today, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame.
Right. Remember how it wasn't about Project 2025? That wasn't a thing, and Trump disavowed it? Remember that? Remember how we were going, yeah, Project 2025, he's basically, all of his executive orders are him just signing pages of Project 2025? Yeah.
Determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity.
Yeah, do yourself a favor, buddy. Cut the programs and see how the red states squeal. The irony, especially under the Biden administration, that so much of the support went to Republican states, to red districts that were hurting, especially post-COVID, because a lot of people didn't get vaccinated or avoided treatment or fucking sucking horse paste down because Joe Rogan told them to, that they ended up dying and businesses collapsed, stores shut down. There was like a devastation that rolled across. The death rate, in the early part was in blue states because of the density of the population. But the the second wave, and especially through Delta, was all red states. The death toll really came there, and they were really reeling from it. And so Biden comes in, president for everybody, and sends a lot of help to these states. And then what happens? Trump's going to come in and cut programs that were helping these people get back on their fucking feet? Okay, let's... apparently, they're mopey over on the 5. The 5. So much for toning down the rhetoric. That's the title of this one. Five Coast discussed Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass's comment that immigration agents are hunting Latinos.
Portland pyromaniacs were torching MAGA hats as Trump's crime crackdown ramps up. Federal agents making arrests outside of the ICE.
Well, I mean, I don't think they want to be left out. There's a ton of people who give a shit about the Epstein files that have been doing the exact same thing. I wonder, Greg, did you cover when maggots were setting fire to their MAGA hats because Trump said Epstein killed himself and there's nothing to see here and you're an asshole if you're asking any questions about it? Did you cover that?
This facility that's been a flashpoint for protests. And over in Cali, LA Mayor Karen Bass was fanning the flames. Hope she can put them out by saying age.
I suppose that was, I guess at best, an ironic musing, right? An attempt at a joke.
Are hunting Latinos.
Put out the flames are fanning. Why would she be fanning them if she wants to put them out? All right.
The President of the United States wants to turn the U.S. military against the American people, essentially saying go in primarily inner city communities and shoot people. Racial profiling of Latinos, which we refer to here as the hunting of Latinos, that has created a blanket of fear. They are trying to dial us back to the 1940s, and that is a tragedy for the American people.
I would argue they dialing back to specifically the early 50s under Eisenhower, specifically for the purge of Hispanic males that happened, Mexican males by and large at that time, but I'm sure there were others at that period.
You know, Harold, Memphis is your town. You were born there May 11th, 1970. You got my card. It's the home.
Joseph Hospital.
It's the home of legendary Sun Studios, Graceland, and where the Goo Goo Cluster was invented. Seems like a good place to save. And yet you've seen it decline, crime, and now Trump is trying to save it. Do you salute him for helping to?
I've said for weeks, I do.
Harold is a year younger than me. Just saying. Little less than a year? Yeah.
I wish that we were able to send not only the National Guard, but ATF and FBI and other agencies, in addition to ICE, to help police departments combat crime. I've even taken a step further. I think we need a national crime bill because you can't sustain the National Guard being on the ground and all these federal resources. We hadn't had a crime bill in now 31 years. Bill Clinton was the last one to do it.
You know why? Yeah, Bill Clinton was the last one to do it. You know why? Because Republicans, there's no such thing as a crime bill that doesn't address loose guns on the streets, and Republicans will run against it all the time. They would rather, and they know that it benefits them politically when people are killed, when like co-opting victims' stories and naming their bills after them, like the Laken Riley Act. Again, that was done not because Democrats needed a reason to vote for that bill, but because Republicans were balking at it. And by naming it the Laken Riley Act, it forced Republicans to get on board with this bill. So
President Trump has a unique opportunity and a real opportunity here to not only do what he's doing now, but to sustain it. I think people who live in Memphis and people who live all across the country, if you tell them I'm going to reduce crime in your neighborhoods, I'm going to reduce fatalities in your neighborhood, I'm going to make it easier and safer for your kids to go to school and for you to go to church and go to work. I don't know anyone who would be objective to that. Now, there are people who object to President Trump, but I don't know anyone who would object to those conditions permeating their community.
I do.
Yeah.
Everyone that
You're
has been
against
offered.
banks?
No, you're saying that there's no one who's rejecting the help.
I said people in those communities, the politicians.
Well, the
object to Trump.
politicians are the
I want to
problem.
make sure you understand what I'm saying.
They are. Well, I appreciate that, Harold, but just like the claim that the Democrats should vote for the clean CR, and very few, if any, do, and come back to the table, and they don't. They go on CNN to whine. They are trying to do the meme war. Same thing here. The people who are representing the people are denying them access to law enforcement and the National Guard coming in to clean up the streets.
National Guard's not law enforcement. They are not law enforcement. They cannot be law enforcement. They can do a lot, but they cannot arrest people. They can detain people temporarily, but they have to hand them over to police officers, and they have to, secure any kind of criminal evidence that would give them a reason to. And it's legally in the same zone as deputizing fucking Steven Seagal or somebody doing a citizen's arrest.
To do in their cities what President Trump's done in my beloved Washington, D.C. I live in the heart of it. He's made it.
The National Guard, by and large, their existence is to put the fear of getting shot in people. That's what they're there for. And the idea is that if you've got riots or some shit happening, fuck, I scrolled this back, my bad. You go back to here. That if you have a Katrina type situation, then the National Guard can secure areas against stampeding people or fucking looting or those kind of things. That's not what's happening in any of these cities. And as a matter of fact, they are completely useless. And you can see this even in the Chicagoland area or even in places like Memphis, that they're not standing there on street corners in areas where beef shootings are happening, where people are just, firing at each other because somebody shot a friend of theirs last week, and this rolling violence like you see in Austin or the south side of Chicago, or you see in Memphis or those kind of things. Their presence isn't going to do anything about that. You have to, first of all, you have to scoop the guns off the streets. You have to arrest people who are engaged in it, and they have to stay in jail for a long fucking time. That's it. They just have to be out of the social net of that area for long enough for the victims and the people and their families and elsewhere to not experience that disruption in their life.
I said people in those communities, the politicians.
Well, the politicians are the problem.
I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying.
The politicians are the problem. Yes, because that's the problem, representative government. Anybody, by the way, who tells you that politicians are the problem and it's the politicians and politicians and politicians, what they're really shitting on is democracy. They're representing the voters. It's the voters clamoring that they hate. This person just makes it a smaller, easier, more direct target. If somebody is not delivering for their constituents, then that's how you attack it. But if the politician's just able to shine on this group of people and those people just keep reelecting them and those people are so fucking stupid, that they're not denigrating the politician that they don't like in the other party in that situation. They're denigrating the public.
They are. Well, I appreciate that, Harold. But just like the claim that the Democrats should vote for the clean CR, and very few, if any, do. And
what claim?
Come back to the table and they don't. They go on CNN to whine. They are trying to do the meme war. Same thing here. The people who are representing the people are denying them access to law enforcement, to the National Guard coming in to clean up the streets, to do in their cities what President Trump's done in my beloved Washington, D.C. I live in the heart of it. He's made it more beautiful and safer and more secure and more livable.
By the way, no, he hasn't. You in your area where you are, you feel safer because you assume you are safer. It didn't change her fucking behavior at all. And these people that Trump talks about, like, I have friends who went out to dinner 5 times in the last 2 weeks, and they're just going out all the time or whatever. They weren't in any more danger before that, especially where they live and in the circles they go to and the restaurants they go to and shit like that. They just spend all their fucking time on Twitter and bought this idea that, like, there's people right outside the door. Like, don't close the drapes, Martha.
And he had a mayor there who negotiated, capitulated, played ball.
The mayor of Memphis is too. He's a Democrat too.
Well, and this is the problem. They're not letting them in. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson, that awful mayor of Chicago, as awful as the last one that he replaced, they're just saying no to help. And they're depriving the people who need them the most. Look, and I have to...
Also, I honestly, what does she think is going to happen? Does she really think that, like, the National Guard is just going to go door to door in fucking Austin looking for drill rappers? I think that's what she thinks. Honestly, like, there aren't enough of them to cover the entire area. So what are you going to do? Just have station in certain places to be like human fodder for catching a stray bullet, and then it's on. Maybe I think that's kind of what Trump is hoping for. It seems.
Say something else. They're still name calling. 3 weeks after the assassination of our friend, everybody's still a fascist. Everybody's still a dictator.
Right. And They're political remedies to those things. That doesn't mean you kill people necessarily. And by the way, everybody isn't still a dictator. They're speaking specifically, I think, to Donald Trump. If everybody was a dictator,
calling the president that and his supporters and these Democratic sitting members of Congress, Harold, who are in safe seats, Frost and Tlaib and AOC, high on her own supply of nonsense. I think she's named 2 post office. What bill has she passed? She wants to be president. She could be president, just not of this country. And, you know, I'm really tired of people.
You tell her, Kellyanne.
Because they don't like President Trump, saying no to law enforcement, to Border Patrol, to cops. I mean, what Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth did yesterday on the ground in Memphis, saying to the police there, you are empowered. Local police, you now have federal help, and this is to protect the people. Instead of
Fucking anything not to deal with the Epstein files. Clearly.
Gavin Newsom and Hakeem Jeffries online, why don't they do something about New York, San Francisco, L.A.?
Jesse.
I mean, you can't invoke my name in my. But I got
No, I'm not invoking your. I'm not
Democrats in
picking on
Memphis,
you.
the
I just
Democrats
they
in
should
Washington,
listen to
it's
you.
not-
You kids over there, knock it off. Jesse,
Yeah, I love
so
them.
Bass is conflating Latinos with illegal aliens. Then she uses the term hunting to make it sound like some sinister predatory attack. How is this leadership, especially as Kellyanne says, after?
Are you shrinking? Are you cold? Do they have can they find a kid-sized chair for you?
Brooke's death. It's pretty brazen.
Yeah, we have the Olympics coming up in the summer of 28, and she's running for re-election. And if she wins, she's going to be the mayor of L.A. during the Olympics.
If the calendar continues to unfold the way we think it will.
That is going to be horrible. She's also going to have to work with Trump during the Olympics. She is a mess. I am beginning to think Democrats enjoy electing stupid people. And
Sorry. I need Jesse Waters needs to be forced Clockwork Orange style to watch one of my full takedowns of Trump speeches, specifically the most recent one. I don't care when he does it. The most recent one will always be worse than the last. Stupid people, are you out of your fucking mind?
I'm also getting the feeling that the donors like when the politicians are stupid because they can do whatever they want behind the politician's back, and it doesn't even matter. They get away with anything.
I'm sorry, we're talking about all the tech giants that just met with Trump, or all the fucking people who met with him on the pedo patio that he installed in the Rose Garden? That crowd?
Stupid people, it's been famously said, are more dangerous than evil people.
I love that quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. That was that Grover, Cleveland, or just Grover? I forget. Hold on. I think it's. Let's see. Do I have? I know I have it here somewhere.
Oh, hello there.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain it was Grover.
Evil people you can confront, expose, and contain.
Yeah, well, that's why you're in a tiny little box on the 5.
Stupid people, they don't listen to facts, they don't listen to reason.
Look, you can't talk about Greg like he's not sitting right there. It's just rude.
And oftentimes they don't really succumb to force.
Yes, they don't. They won't stay down.
And so when you
they won't. Wait, sorry. Stupid people won't succumb to force. Think about that for a fucking second. You try to put them down like a dog, and they keep getting back up because they're too stupid to stay down.
You get a stupid person that gets a little confidence.
Yeah.
And you get the Jesse Waters show.
That's the worst.
It is the worst. But if it wasn't for that character trait, there would be no Fox News.
The most dangerous, and you have to be very careful around stupid people.
Where do you think you fall in that range?
Where do you think, Harold?
That's why they gave him prime time. You know, Dana, so this...
See, they even make the joke amongst themselves because they know.
Lady, Karen Bass, runs a city, and she couldn't put out a fire. And to this day, I think
She couldn't put out a fire. It's out. You do realize.
A handful of permits have been approved to rebuild, and this is what she's doing. Again, there is absolutely no accountability from her own party.
There's no outrage. I mean, I don't see any outrage there. And I know that there's probably a lot of people that don't even want to run for office.
Yeah, they don't. Probably not. Like, I don't even know.
the thing that she was talking about, she said they're hunting. She said ICE is hunting illegal immigrants. Just last week, on Wednesday morning, the breaking news that Bill Hemmer and I had was that you had a criminal on a rooftop who was actually hunting ICE and killed 2 detainees instead.
Right. I think that would fall into that stupid people category of things or whatever. Yes, the guy who shot at the ICE facility killed 2 detainees. That would be a sign, I think, on their side that the left is a lot more violent than the right. Obviously, their aim sucks on top of that, so they're just randomly violent. Also, I would like to point out that that statistic that they've been riding on for the last little bit, that there were 4 actual acts of violence, 1 potential, and then only 1 act of right-wing violence, it constitutes a switch in the power dynamic of left versus right violence. And in that very same graph, they started in 1994, but skipped the Oklahoma City bombing. Left it out entirely because it was bad for the body count.
Where's the outrage on their behalf? But they continue. They want to spin it up. One thing about
the person is dead. They killed themselves. It's a terrible thing. We have shootings like that all the fucking time. This one's political, so you suddenly give a fuck.
See is that, again, that's a split screen situation, like with the border, and you'd have Karine Jean-Pierre and Mayorkas say, the border is closed, and then our split screen was like, what, actually, did you just see all these people just walk across?
Oh, you mean that loop you played from months earlier and footage that you got from when Trump was in office that you played on a loop as well?
It's the same in D.C. You have these National Guard troops who are there taking pictures with people, and you have that footage, and you have the mayor who's, at first she was like, oh gosh, here we go. But she decided to embrace it. She's gotten through that. The city is safer, so they have an outcome. So the more that you see those outcomes, the better it gets for Trump, the worse it gets for the ones who are resisting, like in Chicago.
Excellent point, Dana.
Or lazy blather.
Click here.
Jesus. Click here for more arrogant stupidity. All right, I think I've got time for one more before I get over here. Yeah, I wanted to do this one because I'm like, apparently, there was somebody who actually liked Pete Hegseth's speech to the Pentagon, and it was yet another in a never-ending caravan of dweebs that control the messaging on the right. It's amazing.
I don't understand how that was supposed to be an uplifting message for our military.
I definitely want to hear military advice from the ladies of The View. I cannot think of a better chiefs of staff meeting.
Right, because women folk. Why do you think Pete Hegseth has any right to lecture generals and lieutenant colonels and people who've been in, who are lifers, when he got out early, went to work for Fox, and stole from veterans? Fuck you, dweeb.
And the ladies of The View. So yesterday, the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States spoke before hundreds of top military leaders. Now,
who should have been on station, but were pulled off station to listen to this fucking keg talk from a parallel group of assholes.
This had been touted for a few days in advance, the idea that basically all the top brass in the U.S. military was going to gather in
a perpendicular group of assholes. Yeah.
One place in Virginia at the Marine Corps base in Quantico.
Very important detail. Yeah. Places where these guys were not stationed.
And there's a lot of speculation as to what this meeting was going to be about. Was it going to be a sort of announcement of forward-facing in Ukraine or with regard to China? Was it going to be about Venezuela? Well, actually, as it turns out, it was going to be a speech from Pete Hegseth, the secretary.
It's an ad. Pete Hegseth is running in 2028 or expecting to be the vice president for whoever runs next. He wants to be there either under Rubio or under Vance or running on his fucking own. So he used his station to film a campaign ad, you fucking moron. Leave it to Ben Shapiro to turn me into John Malkovich. You fucking asshole.
Secretary of War and the President of the United States about sort of recalibrating our military approach, particularly internally. So
yeah, so nothing you could have done in a memo or anything.
Pete Hegseth has spoken about this a lot over the
and one more time wasn't going to hurt.
Past few years. If you go back and you watch an episode of the Sunday special that I did with Pete Hegseth about
no one is going to do that. No one.
A year ago, he had a new book out in which he was talking about wokeness in the military, lowered standards in the military, the fact that more militaries around the world were not fearing us as much because we had implemented all of these left-wing ideologies within the military. This has been...
Which is, again, this sort of ridiculous notion that, you know, trans people are less scary than keg breath over there. When I got to tell you, if you were a bigoted member of a foreign regime that thought gays should be thrown off of rooftops, a bunch of armed transvestites, you know, it's like, and transsexuals and transgender people and gay men and lesbians and queer people like come carrying like pride flags over a fucking hill would probably be the scariest thing you could possibly see.
A big bugaboos of Pete's for...
Yes, bugaboo. It's been a big bugaboo for him.
Legitimately years. Well, now he has the opportunity to change all that because, of course, he sits atop the Department of Defense. The event...
No, he doesn't. It's Department of War. Don't be a pussy.
According to the Washington Post, was organized by
Sorry, you're reading the Washington Post? I thought legacy media was full of shit.
Seth's team at the Pentagon. And again, it did summon generals and admirals from command posts throughout the world to Virginia. Washington General Dan Kane.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm not. Okay. Why is that a show? What's going on? What's somebody's got to be backing that, like Ben Shapiro's. It's got to be the take, right? It's got to be that they're so desperate for an angry dweeby take that, you know, people just subscribe to that shit and watch it. Now he's got 7.2 million subscribers and only 78,000 views on the video. That seems hinky to me. That seem hinky to anybody else? 7.2 million people subscribe to this channel. 78,000 views. Does it sound... Did the bot farm that watches this shit go out of business? Or is there just not a big demand for dweeby asshole reads out loud in a Starbucks from his laptop? Or he's actually in a hotel room, it seems. He's probably on his book tour for Lying Screwdrivers or whatever the fuck his book is. Either way, like, the idea that that's a fucking show. Stop it. Stand up. Walk around. Do something. Learn something from what's his ass on Fox News. Get off your ass. Now, speaking of ass, I'm going to take us down the deep, dark colon of the interwebs right now to a place that is the Craigslist of the butt knuckle of the internet, ladies and gentlemen. It's Chanel Leon and the Mess de Souza on the Orange Anus Network. Is anti-Semitism rising on the right? I'm guessing this has everything to do with Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes, you know, and that workaround. Although they seem to be at each other's throats all the time. So whatever. This is the show Fine Point with Chanel Leon. Let's see. Let's answer that question because it's very important.
We are accustomed to a certain disguised anti-Semitism coming from the left.
Disguised anti-Semitism.
And the attacks on Israel and Jewish influence in American politics, the claim that Israel is a colonizer, and also charges of genocide. That is the standard fare of the left and of the Democratic Party, particularly today's Democratic Party. But the attack from the right is new, and that is something.
Yes, it's very sharp.
Of a surprise.
But yes, it's shiny.
And it's reached, I think, a disturbing pitch. So I do think it needs to be engaged directly. I've been
and you're the dude to do it.
A little reluctant myself to do that.
Oh, right, because you're yet another in the never-ending march of dweebs that are the voice of the right. What the fuck? Seriously, do you know how much shit I catch being liberal and being, having played on Queer as Folk, for example, and those kind of things, and this idea that somehow, like, Bob Seska and I are somehow soy boys, and yet Ben Shapiro and Nick Fuentes and the Mess D'Souza and all these, like, fucking empty balloons on the right with their squeaky little voices are somehow indicative of this, like, massive alpha male takeover, and finally we're going to recruit because men are being marginalized. Fucking hell.
Because a lot of these figures have been close to me over the years. I've spoken at a number of Candace Owens' events.
There you go. Yeah. There we go. All right.
Brexit. Last year, Tucker Carlson and I did a tour together, speaking in a number of Australian cities. Of course, this topic never came up.
Well, of course not.
Right.
Was involved quite early with the congressional campaign of Marjorie Taylor Greene. So it is with some discomfort and a lot of dismay that I see.
Yeah, it's weird that Democrats are largely, by and large, focused on Israel and Netanyahu being the problem in this, the Israeli government, the Likud party specifically within the the hardliners, and not Jews. That there's not this big attack on Jews from our side. It tend to be, this kind of like overemphasis, I would argue, on Zionism, being that, some people think that Zionism is simply the existence of the Israeli state, and others are Zionism is the Israeli state must exist as a Jewish-only state, right? That would be the distinction. And since there doesn't seem to be much of a distinction, you can have this overlap of people who consider themselves a Zionist or don't like Zionists, but they believe basically the same circumstance of what's going on in Israel in terms of especially how Netanyahu is a war criminal. But not necessarily comfortably just going Jews. Whereas with Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and everybody, it's almost as if what's going on in Israel, specifically with Netanyahu and what's happening in Gaza, is more of an excuse to just let their freak flag fly when it comes to hating Jews. Just straight up Jew hating. Like, that's what they're doing.
Where these kind of new Pied Pipers are leading a lot of kind of confused and angry young people.
Yes, dopey, melon-headed morons. Normally your audience, right? So they're poaching audience from you. That's why you're upset. I see.
Who are seeing their prospects in America not so good.
Geez, what kind of an awful person would come along and suggest that they blame someone outside the country for their own problems and get them to vote for the same dipshits over and over again to trick them into thinking that that their xenophobia is actually based on some sort of realism.
And so the scapegoating of the Jews, in a way, Israel's to blame, Mossad is behind all this, is a kind of tempting falsehood.
It is. It's exciting,
And that's why I think it's so important someone like you talk about it, because...
Yes, because if anybody's going to be able to move especially the racists, it's going to be this dweeby Indian guy who sucks up to Trump all the time, whose, by the way, son-in-law is Jewish and is going to be overseeing the rebuilding of places in Gaza so that these guys can have control over this.
You know these people, you know these figures, and so my question to you
is how fast do they hang up on you?
Where do you think this is coming from? Because my sense, Dinesh, and I don't know if you feel the same way.
Probably does. Probably. I don't even know what she's going to say, but probably.
This whole anti-Israel, anti-Bibi Netanyahu, anti-Semitic language that you're seeing on...
I just think that's maybe grouping all those things together is your problem here, because you're not parsing out... All right, never mind. You're right. It's all of them.
X in particular, and in very prominent conservative circles, it just seems to have exploded in strength and force and breadth in a way that I did not expect to see.
Yeah, I feel almost obliged to step into this debate also because...
Yeah, go get him, the mess.
Because, when Mark Levin says it or Josh Hammer says it, people go, well, yeah, that's the Jews, defending themselves. I'm not Jewish. As you know, I've made 8 documentary films. None of them have been about Israel. They've all been about the meaning of America. I'm squarely America first. And even though these days people are like, well, Dinesh, how much?
Oh, by the way, real quick, and this will be a good. Dinesh, wait, hold on. I want to see what he was going to say there, real quick.
Just like Netanyahu paying you. I've given hundreds of thousands of dollars to support biblical archaeology in Jerusalem. So my point is, listen, I'm not on Israel's payroll. Like, they're on my payroll, to be honest. If you.
So let me show you real quick what he's referring to, more so than Candace Owens. And again, the reason I show you guys this, the reason I bring this up to you, is because I want you to know. Yeah, here you go. Hold on. This is
Egypt and Syria.
Let's go back up here. Is because there is this illusion that the right has got it together and Democrats are falling apart, and the Democrats aren't fighting or aren't doing anything right, and everybody on the right is somehow like, Trump asks for something, he gets it. His followers will do anything he says. There's not even going to be elections next year because they're all jumping in behind him. Okay. Sean Hannity calls Mark Levin the great one. Donald Trump has reposted Mark Levin a couple of times recently. Mr. Producer. And the biggest rising voice on the right now is this Nick Fuentes dude. And
I saw this clip the other day from Josh Hammer and Mark Levin.
Okay, this is why the mess was just referencing this part of it, because it's not just Candace Owens.
Fuck these people.
There you go. So again, it's a well-oiled machine over there on the right.
Like, deeply, seriously, all real Americans, if you are a real American, if you were born in this country, I don't even care who you are, what you are. If you are a real American that loves this country, you have generations in this country, your family or you fought for this flag, fought for the Constitution, fought for our church, fought for our civilization. For all of you, I say about Josh Hammer and Mark Levin and Laura Loomer, fuck them. Fuck them.
I'm out of popcorn. I don't have any popcorn. Right? Right. Fuck them for making me agree with this dick. Right. Well, that's the thing, is that you don't have to. You don't have to participate in this at all. Yeah, he's a Christian nationalist in his mind. So he's Catholic. So he views it as this nationally. Like he'll overlay those two. But don't put too much seriousness into that, because again, there is no reason to get invested in these assholes chewing each other's necks. It's just fucking funny. Right? The idea that you get like swept up by these dickheads is hilarious. All right, I've got 6 minutes left, and I'm not going to be able to get into something further, and I've got to go put. Hold on, let me see if I can. Where's my music? Here you go. Hold on 1 second. It's here. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. Be good. holding up a mirror for me. That's very appreciated. There we go. It's hard to do backwards because the camera's like... All right. Relatively reasonable. My camera is reversed on my monitor, so it's screwing me up. Damn it. Work that part of it out later. All right, hold on. This will have to do, I think. Hopefully. Whoops. There we go. All right. I think that's good. Let's just try to do that. There we go. I think this will do, right? Excellent. Yeah. This will work at the very least. And then I can, let's see. There you go. There we go. This works, right? Yeah? All right? Okay. Ta-da! Look, I look like my little green picture. There you go. So, I will see you guys later. I got to go run out the door and join the fam for a nice dinner. I know we are going to try and blitz over to, and I apologize to CSL if this puts you on the back foot at all, trying to raid Tara Devlin. Excellent. So if she's ready to go, if they're over there, we could just raid over there. Otherwise, you can raid manually on Twitch. That would be great. And I'll be out the door. I'll see you later. I've got to go be fancy. Fancy dinner for the young kids who are getting married. It's very exciting. Okay, bye. Summer's gonna be so mad if I'm running late, so I gotta go. Let's go.